Hi, I'm Chris Ward, the technical writer at Chronosphere. Welcome to part 2 of my conversation on observability with Joep Piscaer, an independent industry analyst. In part 1, we covered what is observability and why does it matter. If you missed that discussion, you can find details and a link in the description. In this video, we cover some of the challenges and advantages of observability and cardinality. Let's dive in. One thing that we know very well at Chronosphere, and a lot of our clients do as well, which is how we try to help them, is what is the problem with observability? It sounds too good to be true. Is it? What are some of the pitfalls?
So the biggest pitfall is the signal versus noise ratio, or, in other words, you're just tracking too many things. You have too much data, and then it becomes, nearly impossible to find anything useful in all of that metrics data, right? And so the problem is that from a technical perspective, of course, you can, monitor everything, but the technicalities of it don't actually matter, because in the end, it matters where, you have to figure out, what do I need to monitor? What metrics do I need to have visibility into to find out where problems are?
Yeah. And this sounds like this could probably have an impact on business as well. So what might some of those impacts be?
Well, from a technical perspective, having too much is never a good thing. The implied complexity, the implied cost, like I mentioned earlier, are of course a problem. But from a business perspective, the other problem that you have is that you kind of lose sight of what's important in your organization, right? And that means that you have to be very mindful of, okay, where do I kind of dial up the level of detail, and where do I dial down the level of detail? Simply because, at some point, the increase in complexity and the increase of the amount of data that you store and the increase in cost isn't a very simple linear equation. It's very exponential. And so at some point, you kind of cross a threshold where the amount of data just literally it explodes. It's just too much.
And is there a term for that?
Yeah, so high cardinality is what kind of a standard way of describing that problem is, which is kind of problematic, especially for time series databases, which most metrics databases are, simply because, for every little thing that you add, you kind of multiply the amount of data.
Are there any advantages to high cardinality?
I mean, of course, it's great having that amount of data and detail to be able to troubleshoot problems, right? So if there's something going wrong in your environment, having that level of detail to very specifically pinpoint where, the contributing factors are or the root causes are, of course, that's great. But there's always kind of a cost-benefit analysis that you have to do, because storing that amount of data for basically an indeterminate amount of time, because you don't know when stuff is going wrong, that's just, from a practical perspective, that's just not going to fly.
How does a technical team fundamentally decide which of those metrics are the most important?
You have to figure out, okay, what piece of the puzzle is my service or my application doing? And then try to define at least a relative value to that task that's being performed. What part of kind of the bigger workflow, the bigger value stream, is it part of what role plays it in that bigger perspective? Those are two, I think, key exercises to go through to figure out, okay, how critical is this service? How important is it to the bottom line, to the revenue, et cetera?